Welcome, fellow horror hounds, and welcome to the latest episode of Talk and Stalk, your unholy home for horror. I'm your host, as always, Barry, and today's podcast, I'm really just going to be talking about a TV series that I absolutely love. This is a show that has been met with huge critical acclaim. It does certainly have a fan base, but at the same time, I feel like this show doesn't actually get enough attention. It is actually on Netflix now, but I think it's a show that, despite being fantastic, just not enough people really know about. And, it's not a show that's been really marketed that much. And it's called Inside Number Nine. It's actually a British anthology series. Everyone that knows me knows I'm a huge anthology fan. Everything from The Twilight Zone, Alfred Hitchcock Presents, Tales from the Crypt, the list goes on. And Inside Number Nine first aired in 2014. It's courtesy of Reece Shearsmith and Steve Pemberton, two British actors slash writers. They were actually involved. They were two of the writers for a TV series called The League of Gentlemen, which first aired back in 1999, which I'm actually a massive fan of. The League of Gentlemen is very much a unique black humour show. It's a British comedy series, but it really is quite dark. It's certainly an acquired taste, but it's just a fantastic show. It's a show that very much pays homage to so many aspects of the horror genre. It's clear that Shearsmith and Pemberton have an ardent love for all things horror and very much just cult films in general. So The League of Gentlemen, fantastic show. And then 10 years later, we had a show called Psychoville, which ran for just a couple of seasons plus a Halloween special. A really good show, not as good as League of Gentlemen. It was a good show that, again, like the League of Gentlemen, brought us a lot of interesting and unique characters that are quite often played by Reece Shearsmith and Steve Pemberton. What I love about these two guys is their great knowledge, their astute knowledge of the genre, particularly of horror, and they really seem to immerse themselves in the characters that they play. And Psychoville, like I said, lasted a couple of seasons. And with this show, we really got the inception of Inside Number Nine. There was actually an episode that was actually a homage to Alfred Hitchcock's 1948 Rope, a classic thriller. I actually think one of Alfred Hitchcock's most underrated films. It was actually his first film to be filmed in colour. Now, there was an episode that was completely set in one apartment. For the full half an hour, it never left the apartment, and that was actually a nod to Hitchcock's Rope. And that's where the birth of Inside Number Nine came from. Shearsmith and Pemberton had actually decided to come up with a show that was going to be pretty much set in one location, and for the majority of the episodes, they are generally one room in one case, in some cases, typically confined to one house, be it a house, be it a barn. There's even a closet, a carriage on a sleeper train. And that's where the whole idea for Inside Number Nine came from, to create an anthology series that was typically going to be one location per episode. And as soon as this show was announced, I was on board. I'm a fan of anthologies. I love The League of Gentlemen. I love these guys, their unique brand of humour. And even a show like The League of Gentlemen, it had its twists. It had its twists and turns. And Inside Number Nine, the first season came out, just fantastic. What a first season. Now, this show is actually coming up to its sixth season. I believe as soon as season 5 had aired, it was very quickly announced that season 6 and 7 had been officially confirmed. This is probably the best thing the BBC has right now. So they clearly have a lot of faith in Shearsmith and Pemberton regarding this show. It certainly has got a cult following. It does have a fan base, and as I said, the reviews for this show are just fantastic. This is a show that proves to be very innovative. Every season is like Shearsmith and Pemberton try to outdo themselves. They're very experimental. And they've actually said they like to keep this show going for as long as they can, but as soon as they start to run low on ideas, that's it. The show's going to end. They don't want to be churning out this show for purely for the sake of it. So yeah, typically 6 episodes a season. As I said, one location per episode. There's just so many goddamn great episodes in this show. What I love about it very much pays homage to the classic anthologies of yesteryear, whilst being a really solid show in its own right. As you go into each episode, you never know what you're in store for. Some episodes are a lot more comedic, some are more horror-esque. In season 1, I think we have an absolute genius of an episode called A Quiet Night In. It's the second episode of the series, in fact. That basically the entire episode is silent. There's only a word light near the end of the episode. It very much kind of harks back to the days of silent comedy, which you don't actually see too often nowadays. It's an episode that's very much played for laughs, but even with them comedic episodes, there's still stings in the tail. There's still twists out there. The very first episode, called Sardines, in which pretty much the entire episode is in a closet. A family gathering and friends playing a game of sardines. And it's really the character interactions and that really make this episode work. You'd think to yourself, on paper, how's this going to work? Pretty much an entire episode, a full half an hour in a closet, but it works. It really works well. Like anthologies before it, it's a show that really does have a lot of twists and some very unexpected twists along the way. There are some twists in this show that actually turn out to be pretty dark, pretty bleak. And then there's episodes that are a lot more comedic in tone. But to be honest, there's never been a bad episode of this show, in my opinion. Some episodes are clearly better than others, but generally speaking, they're very well written. They're very innovative. There's one episode, for example, called Empty Orchestra that is completely set in a karaoke booth. A good episode, a much lighter in tone. I'm not going to go into spoilers in this podcast. There is an episode in season 2 that is actually my favourite episode thus far. And it stars Sheridan Smith, who many people might know for the British sitcom Two Pints of Lager and a Packet of Crisps. Not really a sitcom that I'm a fan of, but she's actually come quite a long way since then. She's an incredible actress, in fact, and she really displays her acting talent in this episode. And with this episode as well, Shearsmith and Pemberton have proved that they can make people laugh. They can actually creep people out. There's summer episodes that are very horror-esque, but they can also make you cry as well. I think 12 Days of Christine, is just a fantastic, incredibly well-made episode, boasting a great performance from its lead, Sheridan Smith. There's an episode that very much kind of harks back to the days of, classic horror films like The Witchfinder General, called The Trial of Elizabeth Gadge, in which the episode is completely set in a barn, set in I believe it's the 15th, 16th century. A woman is actually being put on trial for being a witch. That episode is very comedic, it's very funny, but it really does kind of capture the aesthetics of that time period as well, with again another great twist. I think another notable episode, one that I really do like, is called the 12 Day. No, sorry, I've actually forgotten the title. Its title is actually escaping me. The Devil of Christmas. That's it. First episode of season 3. This episode perfectly captures the essence, the spirit of 1970s horror movies and television. From what I know, Shearsmith and Pemberton had actually used 70s video equipment for this episode to really kind of capture that old, low-budget, grainy feel, to really give it that kind of level of authenticity. And for anyone that's watched Tales of the Unexpected, great anthology series that ran for 112 episodes. This episode is very much kind of a homage to that. Tales of the Unexpected, great anthology, had very low production values though, which I know put some people off, but to me that kind of added to the show's charm for me personally. And you got wobbly sets and mistakes happening on screen, and they do a great job, a really good job in this episode. I mean, there's another episode called Zanzibar that I think is actually one of the funniest episodes, if not the funniest episode in the entire show. First episode of season 4. The whole episode is told in pentamic rhyme. Basically, it's Shakespeare. It's Shearsmith's and Pemberton's take on a comedy of errors. Very well done, very funny. Absolutely love it, and it's just genius to have the whole episode being told in pentamic rhyme. With Inside Number 9, you get a complete contrast of different flavors. Some episodes. There's an episode from the last season, which is actually very much kind of a kitchen sink drama. It's basically like a very grounded, the most grounded episode to date, in fact, in which it's basically kind of a half an hour family drama, which was quite a contrast again. But again, it's just kind of proving that Shearsmith and Pemberton don't just stick to one thing. They're willing to try, within reason, they're willing to try anything for this show. Another episode that I think is a real highlight for me, I think it's one of the funniest episodes, actually has some great twists to it as well, is The Bill. 4 people sitting around a restaurant table, and it's basically about who's going to pay the bill. The whole episode is in this restaurant. Great episode. Second episode of season 3, The Bill. And that's what I really love about this show. It's just the unexpectedness of it. With a lot of these episodes as well, it's kind of like there's certain things that you won't pick up on a first time viewing. Generally speaking, the episodes are layered. So you'll actually notice things upon a second viewing. One such episode is called Diddle Diddle Dumpling, which is from season 3, which is a really good episode. And not to go into spoilers, has a really dark twist. It's one of the more serious episodes. There's kind of funny bits here and there, but it's an episode that's really at its core quite dark and tragic. And there are certainly things I did not notice upon a first time viewing as well. As I said, each episode, a lot of thought has gone into each episode of this. So I really do feel like Inside Number 9, it's a great show. I have recommended it to people over the last few years. I definitely think that more people need to watch it. Now, I don't actually know if it's available in the US. As I said, this is a British show, and I've got to talk about the cast of this show as well. This show, it seems every season we just get more and more television stars, well recognizable television stars lining up to be on this show. This show has featured quite a lot of stars in its 5 seasons. And I do believe the actual plan for this show is to get to 9 seasons, and that would be the end. It's called Inside Number 9, and they're looking, it would be kind of an appropriate apt kind of ending to actually get to 9 seasons. That's the plan. Season 6 starts later this year. Now, there was actually a Halloween special that was actually broadcast live, and I was a bit on the fence about that, because the problem is with filming things live, if mistakes happen, they can't be edited. That's it. If there's a mistake, and I was really quite worried. Okay, but I commend them for being so bold for doing this, for actually attempting a live episode. And I don't want to go into it. All I'm going to say is, wow. They let's just say that they managed to fool a lot of people with this. It was very well done. And I'm one of them people that I'll admit I was suckered in. I was fooled. And I realised there was a lot of people had switched off because they genuinely thought it had gone wrong. But that was all part of the plan. They actually they fooled so many goddamn people with that episode. I think Reece Shearsmith and Steve Pemberton, I know they're good friends. They've been friends for years now. I think they actually met at college or university. And there was actually an episode in season 1 called Tom and Jerry, which I think is a really good episode, in fact. that they actually wrote years before this show even started. They were actually on the dole. This is even before the League of Gentlemen. They were unemployed, and I think both of them are very adept writers, and they actually just come up with a story, a short story, um, and it ended up as an episode of Inside Number Nine, and one of the best episodes of season one, in my opinion. There is definitely, again, tonally very different. There's an episode in season one, the last episode of season one, that's very horror esque. It's very much kind of harks back to the horror movies of yesteryear. It's called The Harrowing. Great kind of creepy atmosphere in that episode, with an ending that you probably won't forget in a hurry. So yeah, I just implore anyone that's a fan of anthologies, anyone that likes comedy, horror. This is the thing. I know this is this Talk and Stalk channel. Inside Number Nine, it's not really a horror show. There are some episodes that are definitely horror esque. There's an episode in season three called Private View that's very much inspired, clearly a nod to the Giallos out there. I'm a big fan of Giallos, be it the films of Dario Argento, Mario Bava, and it's essentially kind of an Agatha Christie-esque whodunit. A group of people are invited to a private art gallery, and they don't know by who, and they're being bumped off one by one. This show, I feel like this show caters for everyone. There's even an episode during a football match that takes place before the match, at half time, and at the end of the match in the players' locker rooms. As I said, it's very experimental. This show covers so many different genres, and just a fantastic show that I would recommend to anyone that really does like anthology series. And I'm really looking forward to what they're going to do with season 6. Very excited. It's probably my most anticipated show this year. So so I think that's pretty much it for today. I just wanted to kind of give my thoughts on Inside Number Nine. It's a show that I've seen every season now, probably about at least 5 or 6 times each. And as I said, it's very layered. It's kind of like you do pick up on things in a lot of these episodes that you might not actually notice first time round. But that's it. I think that's pretty much it for today. So thanks to everyone that listened. I'll be back again soon to haunt and torment. And if you've liked what you've heard, please feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Talk and Stalk. And I'll be back again soon.